Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Angelina and I'm excited to be here today. So as Aaron said, I'm currently an instructional librarian at City Colleges in Chicago at the Wright campus. And there I focus on helping students and faculty navigate our research resources and develop information literacy skills and just make the most of our library services and resources. Let's see. So, a little about me. I have my master's in library and information science from Dominican University. That's here in River Forest, Illinois, it's right outside of Chicago. Um, Going there was really great. It provided me a strong foundation in research and educational technologies and just student engagement in general. And my passion lies in creating dynamic learning experiences, promoting collaborations with students and with faculty, and just ensuring that information is accessible to all of our students. Okay, just to start. Now, inclusivity in academic libraries, it really just means offering and creating spaces and services and even collections that are accessible and welcoming to all users. And that's regardless of their background, their abilities, their identity, their experiences. And it involves removing any barriers that they can find. Some of the main ones that I've come across were digital, financial, and personal. Those barriers pretty much just prevent students and researchers from being able to be fully engaged with our library and the resources that we have available. And just being inclusive ensures that academic libraries are living beyond that old image of being just old buildings filled with dusty books, but instead it shows that we're active partners in our students' success and also for their lifelong learning. And then being inclusive in academic libraries is vital because it directly impacts our students. It also helps with faculty engagement and overall just the advancement of research. So within that, students are going to be able to see themselves reflected in our collections. They'll receive guidance, they'll learn new accessible language, and they'll benefit from our services. With that, they'll gain confidence in their abilities. And we've also found that being inclusive in the library, it will. Hold on, Aaron, could I ask something real fast?
Sure, what's up?
Is there a way to block it so I'm not accepting people into the room?
Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah, sorry. Well,
No,
you're a
that's
co-host.
okay.
You're a co-host, so I'll work on it.
Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah. So, well, when libraries are inclusive, we found that our students have higher retention rates, they gain better research skills, and overall, they have more meaningful engagement with scholarly works. And for faculty, we have noticed that introducing them to our different resources, it also enhances like collaboration and overall their teaching effectiveness. Mainly because faculty, they depend on our libraries for support. And when we prioritize accessible instruction methods, it really helps them introduce students to it. That includes databases and research guides. So it gives them an ability to show more broader perspectives. And this also just strengthens their learning experience for students. Okay, so a brief agenda for today. We are going to cover three main areas. It's going to be understanding student barriers, creating an inclusive space in the classroom, and then also developing inclusive instruction strategies. And just so you guys know, if you have any questions, please, please, please add them to the chat, or if you have any comments you want to make sure this is like a open area for everyone. So before we can even start discussing methods for instruction, it's important that we understand some of the barriers that our students may be facing. Depending on your type of institution, it could be a traditional four-year university or a community college or a trade school. Just understand that every class we teach, we're going to have students dealing with different concerns in their personal life, and that's going to affect them in the classroom. One of the main barriers I have found for students at my school is that they have a lot of commitments outside of the class. Many of the learners are juggling work schedules, they have family responsibilities, and they may just have other life commitments that make it difficult for them to visit the library in person to reach out for research help. So these students, even with their outside commitments, they deserve the same access to information and support. And most of the time, the only way they're going to get that help is in an instruction. So we really just have to show students that the library and research help is available to them while like at night, or if they only have time to come in between work shifts. We just want to make sure that they're aware that there is access to research materials. Let's see. And another major thing is that students need to know that we're very flexible with our research help, and they're not going to have to sacrifice any of their personal time. So it isn't just about who can walk through the doors of our library to get help. It's about making sure students know that there's access to resources no matter where they are. One thing that really helps with this is showing students during instruction, specifically, that we have different ways of reaching librarians for research consultations, and it's going to fit in at their time. At my institution, we have a chat service. So if you just need a quick research help, you can just type it in and a librarian will get to you within minutes. You can also schedule one-on-one consultations that can be in person, or in these situations, it helps more to have it offered virtually. So they can just have a Zoom call and still get the same, like really good research help without having to leave their home. Okay, and then another challenge that I've found is just in general, the digital divide. And I know this comes up a lot at every different type of library institution, but for new students, especially in college settings, it can really make or break their experience in school. Not all of our students have access to reliable internet internet, and sometimes they don't even have access to personal devices. With that, they may be relying on outdated technology. They may have to share computers in the library, and that can make it difficult to conduct research efficiently, especially if there's like a time constraint on it. Without this access, students are more disadvantaged before they even begin their research work. And then another issue is exposure to digital resources in general. Many databases, websites, and online learning platforms are not really designed with accessibility in mind, especially for students who may have zero experience navigating them. And that lack of experience can even go beyond like the technical part of it and more to even the physical aspects of using technology in the classroom. So for instance, I've had an experience during an instruction where I had a new student, it was a first year class. It seemed like they weren't really engaging with my lesson. So I walked over when I had a chance just to see what was going on. And I noticed that their computer monitor wasn't turned on. And that's because the student had never worked with a desktop computer before. So they had no idea how to even turn on the monitor. That's an issue that is easy to fix. It's something that they may feel ashamed not knowing that information, and they may be too nervous to, raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know how to use a computer like this. So we can't really start our instruction. mm, We can't really we can't hold our hands through the whole thing. We can't show everyone hi, this is how you turn on a computer. This is how you use a mouse. This is how you use an icon. We're going to lose them right away if we do that. But we should be attentive of all of our students in the room, especially when they're new, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So this is where creating an inclusive learning environment comes into play. An inclusive learning environment, especially in library instruction, is going to ensure that students, regardless of their ability or their background or their experiences, they're going to feel welcomed and valued and supported by the library and by librarians. And then the exciting part of all of this is that as librarians, we can actively create these spaces for students so they can thrive. And we can also help as much as we can to minimize the barriers that they can be facing. One of the most important things to remember when trying to implement inclusivity in instruction is that students they definitely will feel intimidated by complex terminology and just if we're too rigid in our explanations, and especially if we're going to use unfamiliar jargon. So that's why using natural language in library instruction is very, very essential. It's going to make information more accessible for students, more relatable, and it's going to make our research more engaging for students. So we can do this by having just clear conversational explanations. It's going to make our students feel more comfortable asking questions and with applying new research skills. In my case, one of the first lessons I had to learn during instruction was that just because a phrase is known by us as librarians, it's not always known by students. In this case, I was using Boolean instead of, like that and stacks. That was the main one. And I wasn't really taking the time to understand that while these phrases are second nature to us, students are just not familiar with them. And it wasn't until I was giving a tour after my main instruction lesson that a student made a comment saying, oh, a stack is just a bookcase. And then I looked at the class and they're all nodding along and they're also realizing oh, that's what she meant by stacks. And that's just when it hit me that I have to simplify some of my phrases because if the students would have gone into the library looking for stacks, they just wouldn't have known what that means. And then sometimes we can come across phrases that we can't really simplify too much, or more importantly, they can't be replaced because they're just necessary for conducting research. That might be something like explaining what an abstract is or scholarly peer-reviewed sources. The best thing that we can do in that case is say the phrase and then just take a couple seconds to explain what it means to the students. So just taking that little bit of extra time, it's going to make it clear for them. So another thing we can do is demystify our resources. Academic research, it can feel very overwhelming, as we all know. And then this is especially true for students who are new to, digital databases. Maybe they're unfamiliar with catalog systems or even like research tools. By demystifying our resources, it ensures that all of our students, regardless of their experience levels, are able to navigate our resources and that they can do it with confidence and that they can do it in an effective way. One thing many students struggle with is searching for academic sources just because they don't really fully understand how our database works. One thing that comes up is they enter very broad keywords. And as we all know, they'll end up getting thousands and thousands of irrelevant results. Or they may not realize how to use our filtering system, which also leads to them having too many results. And in those cases, they may just give up on the search. So just by breaking down different search strategies and this making it very simple and approachable, we can empower students so they're able to find information that they need without becoming too frustrated. And this also helps with catalog navigation. A lot of times, same situation. Students are unaware of how to locate physical books. They may not know how to request interlibrary loans. They probably don't even know what that is if they're new to the system. And they can also face challenges accessing digital archives. So if we have our instruction focused on practical and hands-on demonstrations, students can gain confidence and they're able to explore our resources independently. And some of these resources like citation generation or generators and subject guides can seem especially intimidating at first. So make sure even when you're discussing that you're taking time to just, again, use that natural language and you're being very clear with the students on how to use them. That way, they'll be more likely to use them. Okay, here's the fun part. This is the part that we were all looking forward to, just learning about hands-on learning for our students. Now, hands-on learning is essential. It's going to allow our students to practice their research skills while also offering them direct support. That's going to give them confidence and help them with their understanding in real time. There's guides. They can go onto YouTube and watch a video on how to do research. It's not going to be the same as having an actual librarian in their classroom helping them one-on-one. So instead of having passive instruction when we are having our instruction, it's better to just have hands-on learning. It's going to engage our students and it's going to make our research seem more approachable. Now, there are so many different activities we can offer that allow our students to actively explore our database. It's going to help them refine searches and even evaluate sources. We want to make sure that by using hands-on learning, students are able to see research as more than just a theory. They're not just hearing about different strategies, they're actually applying them. For example, if we have a student who's struggling to locate peer review on articles, that's one thing that comes up a lot. They can practice with us in the room. They can learn how to filter their information to find a peer-reviewed source. Or if they're in a system or like a database that doesn't have that filter option, that they know how to read the article to see how to find like peer-reviewed. And the really nice thing about having hands-on learning is that students are able to ask questions and get that immediate feedback from us that they wouldn't get if they were just reading or watching a video on how to conduct a research. And this builds trust with our students it ensures that they feel comfortable returning for, future research help. Now, one thing we want to try to do is have learning, like hands-on learning that supports our different learning styles. As we know, every student isn't the same, so having different options for them that help grasp concepts is just going to be more inclusive for all of our students, especially again if they're new to library instruction. So, have visual options, have step by step. Sometimes they prefer having like the ability to work together in groups. Sometimes they prefer working on their own. Just make sure there's a lot of different options. And then just remember that research isn't just about, accessing our information. It's about learning how to think critically and how to ask those questions so that they are able to explore ideas independently. But just having hands-on experience, they're going to have a lot of power in their research abilities. And it's also going to help them gain skills that they can use outside of the library and outside of school too. So these are a few instruction activities that I have tried out that really helped a lot and that students really seem to enjoy. Some of these I found online, and a lot I actually learned from other librarians at my institution. So I'm really thankful for that. There's scavenger, like a resource scavenger hunt. With that, you're just going to create a list of research prompts and have the students locate materials using different databases or maybe catalogs or physical books. There's a database deep dive. This is a really good group activity, or if you have a class with just a few students, you just assign them a specific research database and have them explore the different functions and filters, and then they can share any tips that they learned with the class. Keyword brainstorming, I have a worksheet that I print out that I give to every student for every class because I feel like this really helps a lot with understanding how to come up with keywords and how to put their thoughts together. For new students, they don't have experience in this. So just having that worksheet sometimes helps guide them. And like I said, you just have a broad topic. So it could be something as simple as climate change or deep sea diving, whatever it is. And then you just have students come up with different keywords that could help them refine their search. And then you can have them search either on their own, in a group, or as a whole class, how they can combine those different keywords together to come up with different results. Their source evaluation challenges. With this, I just give the students different types of sources. So it could be a news report, it can be a blog, Wikipedia, and then I have them access the credibility of that source. And a lot of times it helps to use a more structured evaluation method. So for that, they can see how to break down and work that information better, or just evaluate the information better. Along the same way as with the keyword brainstorming, there's just building a research plan. With this, you're guiding the students through brainstorming a topic. So you want them to find, again, different keywords, different sources, different search engines. And with this, they can really see if their research topic is one that's going to be easier to find information on. A lot of times with new students, they have really good ideas, but they don't know how to streamline them into something that's actually researchable. So helping them with this research plan is really good. And the last one, this is one that another librarian has showed me, and it's also very, very helpful. It's just an article autopsy. With this, you're just gonna select an academic article. You want to make sure it's one that hits all the main points that students are going to need to know to help with their research. And then you give it to the students. You just have them break down the different components of the article. So this is going to be like, find the abstract, find the introduction. Is there methodology? Is there a conclusion? And this is going to help the students know how to read a research article. A lot of times they're not, well, they don't really have the experience with it. So this helps. And it also shows them how to best take information from an article, especially if they're like on a time crunch for their research. So like we always tell them, don't read the entire 100-page article, pull the information from these different sections. This shows them the different sections. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second and look at the chat to make sure we're not missing anything. Let's see. Oh, so we have Kelly. She said that she had a student that was having difficulties with just typing a paper. And that's true. A lot of students, maybe they're only familiar with writing out their papers. I had a student who needed help using like a physical mouse to navigate, or like just for their computer. They were so used to using a touch screen. Those are the type of things that we don't really think about before we go into instruction because we just assume everyone knows. So that's a really good idea just to have a typing skills class. Okay. Oh, this is good. Lorena says that infusing humor into the presentation really helps a lot. Oh, good, because it's classes with younger and older students. That's a really good idea. Okay. Oh, wonderful. And then we also have, if you finish early for students, let them leave fast. And you know what? That's going to touch upon my next section. Before I do move on, though, are there any other questions about instruction activities? No? Okay. I will move on to the next point. Another very powerful way to support students, especially new students, is to build trust with them. Students, they're going to feel more comfortable approaching librarians for guidance, and they're going to actually return for help if they trust us. It's going to help them also develop confidence in their own abilities too. The first way to, not even just the first way, one of the most important ways to build this trust is to be approachable to students. We want to make sure they feel welcomed, that they're not intimidated, because a lot of times, especially if it's their first time in an academic library, they think that librarians are the normal stereotype, we're very rigid, we're cold, we shush them. So just being approachable in our instruction, and even just if we're at like a reference desk, that helps a lot too. And it shows them that we're not intimidating at all. We want to make sure that we're welcoming when students are asking for assistance during our instructions, and that we're also showing like a genuine interest in what they're learning. Sometimes students especially if it's one of the brainstorming activities. I can have a student who has three different ideas on what they want their paper on. And sometimes they'll even say, this might be stupid. I don't know if this is a good idea. And just letting them know, like, hey, yeah, this is a great idea. This is an interesting topic that you're working with. I think you're going to find a lot of really good research information that shows that we do care and that we're accepting of them as individuals. And then we also want to be consistent with our students. We want to be thoughtful and patient. And if available, or like if we're able to, we want to give them personalized guidance when they're in our instruction sessions, and then also when they just come into the library to visit. By doing that, they're going to have a better understanding of librarians as individuals. And it's also going to show them that we're a really good support system. Just remember that even just a single positive interaction during instruction can really make a difference between a student struggling alone for their research or them feeling comfortable enough to, you know, engage with us during a session and then also feel comfortable enough to come back and, well, to continue it, to come to the library, to chat with us, to even schedule a session, like a one-on-one consultation if they need to. It's just really helpful. It's letting them know that, like, hey, again, this is our job, but it's also our passion. We love helping students. We're trained in this. And then another thing that I've found that helps build trust with students, and this isn't really even something that we individually are doing. Well, like, it's not that it's coming from us, it's something that we can do. Just make sure you have representation of your students, whatever that may be. So, make sure that you have book displays that represent the student population, that you even have collections that are representative of the students. And in instruction, also be sure to have like diverse perspectives. Sometimes that can just be using different database systems that just can be from like diverse groups, or it could be finding, diverse authors for the students, something that reflects them better. And just doing this, it allows us to be active in making sure students from all backgrounds feel heard and that they feel valued also in their research. And the last thing that we can really do and just understand is that trust is built through long-term relationships. So again, make sure during your instruction that you're telling students that they can return for, follow-up guidance. Let them know that we offered more tailored research support. And just let them know that the library is an ongoing academic resource. It isn't just a one-time thing. They pretty much need us for their success in their education. And just by prioritizing trust and being inclusive, we can really just turn instruction from something that's intimidating for new students into something that's empowering for them. It lets them know that they have support and that they can engage with us, and that we want them to succeed. And then one of the final things we can do for, showing, well, just being inclusive to our new students is by encouraging lifelong engagement. Again, we want students to know that they can come to us at any point of their academic journey. So even though this is more focusing on new students, so we can build all of these understandings, they can also come to us, at the end of their academic career. They can come to us at any point. They can come to us once they've already graduated. We're here for them, and they need to just really understand the long-term benefits that the library can give them. One way we can do that is just encouraging students to engage with our library, including the resources and us as librarians, beyond, again, that single research project. We need to just show them that they can build critical thinking skills and research confidence, and most importantly, information literacy, and that it's going to serve them for years to come. And it's good for students to see us as an ongoing resource. So they just don't return for assignments. They can come to us to explore ideas, just to connect with experts, and also to refine their ability to navigate information on a personal level. And then beyond college, these library skills, it can translate into their career success. It can help them with decision making, and it also helps with lifelong learning. We're just really showcasing the ability to develop curiosity and just independence and confidence in their abilities. So at my library, again, there was, well, actually, a lot of former students from my instruction sessions, whether it be a one time or if it's like a semester long research help, they come back a lot. And that's very helpful for them. And it's helpful for me too to know what's working. And I had a former student once come back to find information on something their friend had found on a TikTok reel, and they wanted to prove their friend wrong. So they weren't really able to find any credible sources on it, and they knew that they could come to the library and find information. And it was just really nice knowing that they knew that they could come to us for help, even if it wasn't for something academic. It's just the help with a little argument with a friend. We're still here for that, you know? Uh, but yeah. So, let's see. Okay. So, how do you guys have ideas and you want to know how to put them into practice? Because it's one thing to have the ideas, you're going to have to develop it for your own institution and for your own students. So just by developing policies to promote being inclusive in library instruction, you want to make sure that you're being thoughtful and that you're taking a structured approach. So here's like a very concise strategy or strategic framework guideline for the process. One of the first things you can do is assess your current barriers for students. Every institution is different, so you can conduct surveys that might help to understand the challenges students have when accessing library instruction. It also helps to team up with other departments sometimes for this information, so you can learn more about your students on a personal, non-academic way. So again, do they have jobs outside of school? Are a lot of the students parents, or are they caring for family members? The only way you're going to find that information is by actually going out and finding it. You also want to be able to identify gaps in your existing policy related to accessibility and engagement for students. And it also helps a lot to just reach out to faculty to learn more about any diverse needs they may have in their classroom, especially with new students, since the only interactions they may have had could possibly be with their professor. So reach out to the professors, find information. And then with this, you also want to make sure that you're getting information for online students too, and like distant learners. I realized when I was going over our policy that I was focusing on our in-person students more than online. And that created issues where when I was doing, virtual instruction for these online classes, I was a little lost because I didn't know the class. And it makes sense because, they're not in person. You don't have that one-on-one aspect. So I don't know, just reach out to the professor, find out what you can. If you want to know if there's any additional ways that your instruction can help the students, or if there's anything you can add to your instruction. Okay, another thing you want to do is define your clear goals. So establish some objectives when creating your learning experiences in the instruction. Make sure you have like different benchmarks. They don't always have to be very formal. It could be something as simple as increasing participation, especially if it's like a underrepresented group. And that's just something you're going to see in person while you're doing the instruction. And then also see to it that your goals are in line with your institutional's DEI initiatives. One of the best ways that we can gain the support of the school with our instruction is to have our goals match up with them. You can also develop inclusive teaching guidelines. This is incredibly helpful. Make sure that you're telling, or just not telling, but that you're explaining to all of the librarians the importance of using natural language, for instance, to make instruction more accessible, that you're coming up with some different hands-on learning activities, and that you're using different learning methods so that all of your students are engaged. And this can also help with making sure that different learning approaches are being met to accommodate any diverse needs you may have in the class. So that's visual, auditory, whatever it may be. And then having guidelines is also going to help with having inclusive collections and different relevant examples in your research instruction. See, establish some ongoing training and personal development. This goes in line with the guidelines. With this, you're going to make sure that you're having like different training for library staff so that they know how to best help new students. These are people who are just emerging into college. We have to know how to best reach them and how to best serve them too. One thing that really helps with this is just having workshops. It can be something small, depending on the size of your library team, and make it fun if you can. Like have different activities, different learning goals, whatever, and just encourage continuous learning on being inclusive in the library instruction. And then once you have all that done, you want to be able to evaluate the process. That's going to be very helpful to make sure that you're reviewing policies, and it gives you an ability to update them. And that's based on, student feedback that you may receive. It's rare, but sometimes students come back into the library and they'll let you know, like, hey, this one part was very helpful. It could be something like coming up with keywords. They had never done it before. The way that you taught them really helped a lot. So that'll let you know, hey, the way I did it was good. Moving forward, I could, build upon that. So just take that data and, just assess that you're being effective with your teaching. And then again, engage with students. Make sure you have like an open dialogue with students and faculty. That way you can ensure that any of their needs are being met. Classrooms are ever evolving, especially if you're doing like a first year class. You're gonna have new students with new needs and new experiences. So just keep that dialogue open with everyone. Okay, so here's a wrap up so we can just reflect a bit on what this being inclusive and library instruction for new students means and why it matters. So one of the first things, understanding student barriers. It's the first step in creating meaningful change. We want to make sure that we're recognizing obstacles such as language barriers and accessibility challenges. And also a barrier might just be their confidence. We want to make sure that we're empowering students to overcome them by offering them thoughtful support. We want to have an inclusive classroom environment, and we know that it goes beyond just having, good intentions. We want to be active about it. We can do that by embracing natural language, by making sure our communication is clear and inviting. We want to demystify resources by breaking down the complex systems. That way every student feels capable to use them and that they're informed on how to use them also. We want to make sure we have hands-on learning. That way we're transforming these abstract concepts into something more tangible. We're giving them hands-on experience, and we're reinforcing engagement with our different sources. And then most importantly, we want to make sure that we're building trust with students. It's going to create those relationships, and it's going to give them a sense of belonging. And we want to make sure that we continue to refine our instruction strategies, that we're adapting to these evolving needs that our students have, and that we're being inclusive. So come up with different instruction strategies, make sure you have those policies in place so that we have those guidelines for ourselves, but also we're able to pass on that information to our colleagues. Maybe they didn't come to, a conference, so they're not aware of the opportunities that are available. That's where we can come in and help create those guidelines and just let them know what's going on. And we just want libraries and our instruction to be accessible to all. And we want to let them know that our research and what we offer, it's going to be here for life. So whenever they need us, we're here for them. That's going to, empower them. And it's also going to help them a lot with discovery. Okay, so that's the end. I just want to thank you all for taking your time to come to my presentation and for all the engagement that we've had, especially in the chat. You guys have really good ideas and good examples. And then if you guys ever want to reach out, this is my contact information. I have my school email address, which is Santana-Torres at ccc.edu. And then my personal professional email address, just ab.santanatorres@gmail.com. Okay, let's see. And then do you guys have any questions? see. No. Okay, well, thank you, you guys. Thank you so much for, interacting and coming to hear me speak.